Welcome back live from Los Angeles. We are all talking about Wealth Wednesday, and we are so excited to talk with Laura Katanen, who is a lifestyle blogger. You are a Lady Boss Mama, and you're an entrepreneur, and you live in West Hollywood. Hello, you are part of our family right here.
Absolutely.
So excited to have you here.
Me too. Thank
show.
you.
Now, you've been part of the Focus TV family for a long time. And it's so funny because this community is just getting so smaller as it expands. So we met at Glamifornia. Special shout out to Ms. Tara Tidy. And she's got this gorgeous style lounge in Malibu. And she was talking to Tara and she was telling her about this. And I was like, oh, I'm with Focus. And she's like, Focus? I know Focus.
Yeah, Tambi, we connected, and then I met Andy, and just beautiful relationships. And I love what you guys are doing. It's wonderful.
We love what you're doing. Thank you for sharing your light, your stories about being a lady boss and being a mama, because we all know
It's not easy.
it's not easy. So what's your
Pressure.
secret?
A lot of pressure on women these days, right?
Yeah, the secret is not trying to have it all put together, to be honest. And I feel like in today's social media world, it kind of is contradictory because you see everybody with this perfect house and, every day they're dressed perfectly and their hair is perfect. And the reality is that's not the case. So
Such a good point. How do you do that? How do you let go of having to have it all put together without feeling like you're taking a hit to your self-esteem and your self-love? I think that's the challenge, because I talk to a lot of women and I realize I can't do it all, Rob. I know that, but then I just feel so bad about the fact that, I don't look, every day like I came off the runway, or every day I don't feel like I, just got out of the spa.
I mean, I think it takes a little bit of soul searching and just digging and learning what gives you balance. Because if you feel balanced, then you're happy. And that balance may look crazy to other people, but if it's centering you, then that's all that really matters. So I think it's just learning a lot about yourself, and just what makes you tick, and sort of just drowning out all the external noise. Like in a game, a lot of professional athletes, you ask them what happens right before you go out there, they get into the zone. And that's what you got to kind of do with yourself, especially when you're a super busy mom, wife, entrepreneur. Like sometimes there's so much noise and pressure, you just got to figure out what is going to get me through the next 5 minutes that's going to make me happy,
Just love that.
Yeah, having a little child, and your child is
21 months,
almost
yeah,
22 months.
yeah.
And I do think that we have a lot of pressure in our culture. Like in most culture, maybe moms don't even work, they stay home, or sometimes they take a lot of years off and then go back. And we have this thing where it's like, okay, you're a mom, great, you have the kid, get back to work, cut on it, what's wrong with you? You're not enough. And so how did you find peace in that? Because I know for me as a mom, I was not built as a traditional mom. I wasn't like the stay-at-home mom. I had that desire to create and work. How did you make peace with that?
That's actually part of the reason for Lady Boss Mamas, to be honest, because I was, after being in the hospital, the day after, I was working because we have a startup. There is no other option. And that pressure of not knowing anyone, working with my husband, being a new mom, I started feeling lonely, and I started feeling that, who am I anymore? I can't just be a mom. I have the pressure of work too, but then I feel guilty because I'm not home with my son in the very early stages. So I said, I can't be alone. I'm not the only one experiencing this. And I made it my mission to find other women and to learn from them. Sharing stories as women is what it's all about. That's where we learn. When we support one another and we band together and we really try to encourage one another. So by finding other women who experienced it and they shared their stories and their coping mechanisms, I felt stronger. And so I just kept going, and I found a co-host and a partner in this, and it's been beautiful. We've met a lot of amazing women.
So cool.
Yeah.
So cool. So what do people come to your blog? They're the moms, they're bosses, they're all this stuff.
Yeah.
What is it that you like? How can people work with you?
How can people work with me? Well, right now, we are gearing up to put together a really big retreat in October. And so we're looking for women that want to create experiences at our retreat. It's going to be all about overcoming fears and really digging deep and finding that love. So we're going to have some maybe sound baths and some meditation, but we're also going to have some practical work stuff. Because a lot of the times, work, our personal lives can intercede our work and so forth. So right now, work with us by, either wanting to be interviewed or be part of the event in October. Yeah.
That's so perfect. I think people want so many more events. They want in person. We've been talking about this a lot on the show, that the internet's great, all the shows are great, but people want real connection for sure.
Absolutely. And they want to be reminded that they're not alone, that, there's other people that have been on this journey.
And that's what I love most about your blog is that even though people might not be able to connect with you in person, they do really truly feel connected to you because you are real, you are raw, you are authentic, you are genuine and vulnerable.
Yeah.
Is that hard for you?
It was in the beginning. But to be honest, I have a master's in organizational psychology. That was my corporate career for a long time.
Wait. Organizational psychology.
Yeah,
There's a
so
degree
it's
in
change
this. What is
management.
that?
It helps with, when senior leaders say we have a new strategy or we need to restructure or we need to have a completely new function which supports our new strategy. I would help with how would that impact the people? How do we communicate it? How do we train them? So I did this for, a very long time. And through all of that, I guess, you go through a lot of personal development because you're helping a lot of other people. So you really have to dig deep in yourself. And what I found is, it's true in any type of leadership role, people, they will look up to you more when they see that you're human, when they see that you're vulnerable, when you have authenticity. And so, yeah, sharing some of my personal stories in the beginning was really hard, but then the response was just, super encouraging because people are like, oh my God, I'm not abnormal, or I'm going through that too. Recently I just wrote about, my relationship because it's taken a toll with a new baby and an entrepreneur, and we work together, and it's been a tough year. Mm-hmm. And so when I looked in the mirror, I recognized a lot of it has to do with my behaviors and constantly nagging him and asking him to, pitch in more. But I didn't like that. I didn't like the sound of it. So I wrote about it on my blog. And I had so many women reach out to me and say, thank you so much for sharing this. It's so refreshing. I do it too. I'm going to read it. I'm going to read the books you recommended. It's just life, we're not perfect.
It is. I remember my son was in daycare when I did go back to work when he was young. He'd go there a few hours at a time. I didn't work 8 hours at a time. It was real sporadic. And I do remember that around the time he was about 2 years old, a majority of all the parents were getting divorces.
Yeah.
And I thought, because it's so difficult those first 2 years,
Totally.
and I think it takes a toll on so many relationships. And so if you can help assist and help guide people and help somehow, take on that air, that's so important. It's such important work.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's interesting. I worked in the same change management space for a long time.
You did?
Yeah, and it's interesting what you said, because I think a lot of times when you're working in that space, you don't always think about the ways in which the things you're explaining to others actually applies to you, right?
Of course, yeah.
So what would you say were the major takeaways from that work that you've been able to apply to today's work?
It all boils down to our thought process. Our mind is so powerful. So when I saw people resisting the change in organizations, I would get real with them. I would try to figure out, what are they telling themselves? What's the story they're creating in their own minds? Because I bet you that's blocking them from actually accepting the changes. And once I was able to get there, and then we were able to say, well, if it's fear of, what if I don't have the right skills for that job? Okay, great. What training could we provide you? And then if you know what is the mentality, what is the mindset, and it's the same thing with ourselves. I just gave a presentation at a conference, Start Loving You in San Diego, and I was explaining my definition of success was getting in my own way recently, because success had always been, what's my promotion? How much money am I making? Where are they going to send me next? It was really corporate driven, but now success in a startup world, you're congratulating yourselves, you're going to have a bunch of, setbacks, challenges, things that you don't experience. And so it's not the same. So I started realizing that I was not happy because I was defining success the same way. So what got me successful in the corporate world is not the same here. So I had to redefine my word for success.
Such powerful work, and that's one of the things I love most about you is you have this very relatable, accessible way of delivering information, and redefining success, I think, is such an important part of that work. For you, what part or role does sort of happiness play? Are they sort of tightly interwoven? For me, they're almost the same thing, almost.
They are. That's what I. So then, in fact, when I was sharing this concept with the women, it was Kurt Lewin's change management model, where you have to unfreeze, change, and then freeze. And I was saying, when you unfreeze, it's like in a sports game, they replay the scenes to try to analyze and understand what's going on wrong. And then when you find what's going wrong, you then figure out what you need to change. So I figured out that what really makes me happy, like my true definition of success, is balance. So then I was able to rephrase and say, I will only be successful if I feel balanced. So what am I doing? Like if I ever feel stressed, I take a step back now and I say, wait a minute. Let me just assess this moment. Am I doing something right now that really truly gives me balance and pleasure and has ultimate impact on my, overall intention? And if not, I stop doing it.
I just love that.
Just say no.
Yeah, I think it was Jack Canfield who said, if what you're doing isn't fun or you can't make it fun, just stop doing it.
Exactly.
Completely. Yeah. It's hard for
Yeah.
people to do that sometimes.
It
and I
is.
think too, balance is so different for everybody. It's relative, right? So what does balance look like for you day in, day out?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm also a Libra, so there is a lot of balance there.
Naturally.
But I think it's just, I need time with my family and I need time to myself. I'm very much like, I can't go and be around people eventually it burns me out. So I need to really just tell my whole family, you're not going to see me for an hour. Usually that's fitness. And, doing what I love every day, passion in the workplace. I think right now that's balance,
Nice. Well, thank you so much for all your work
Yeah.
and just such important work. Really, really important work.
Thank
You're a
you.
total lady boss.
We're grateful to be a part of your community. That's absolutely for sure. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more of The Morning Well.